that when the jaw starts moving, and so first point, the head moves instead of being tilted backwards, the head bends forwards. And the second thing, now when this connection was going to the back, now the jaw has more freedom. So what happens if we combine those two things? So that means that as she bends the head, there is more stimulus that goes backwards, and as she moves the jaw cleanly in this area, what does it mean? There is more stimulation in this area. And now if you ask yourself a question, so you see, let's Google together, right? Ping, we put salivary glands, and let's look at it. What does Mr. Google tell us? You can see it right away here. So these are the salivary glands. Let me get this guy. Right, and here we are. Oops, everything is going slow. Yes, so you see here, this would be the salivary gland positioning. So what happens? When the person moves the jaw more and independently, you get additional stimulation of those glands. So on the one hand, she's swallowing better, she's moving the jaw better, but then, especially if she's sitting, well, then there's going to be some free drooling. And the reality is that her salivary glands, they never received the right stimulation, because basically she was using the jaw for many years as part of the connection towards the head. So as she was using this as connections towards the head, so in this area they received very little stimulus. And now think about how many jaw movements are happening per day. Thousands. So several thousands times a day she gets this new stimulation to the salivary gland. So it has to integrate it, and that's what happens. That what happens, that as the total connection is better, for some kids this stimulation of the salivary gland is before it settles and gets accustomed to the new level of mechanical stimulation, it takes a long time. It could be several months or even more, because it's a constant change in the head positioning. There's more freedom, there are additional movements at the jaw, there is additional freedom at the temple-mandibular joints, there is additional activation of the muscles which are connected at the temple. So every new activity, once you get more of the mouth control and so on, so every new activity adds the stimulus to the salivary glands. So that's where the challenge is happening. So, and that's why when you are telling me that, well, we did the exercises that Mauricio taught us, and in fact with the activity of the mouth floor, salivation increased, so we stopped doing it. So what is that? That is, you can see that those exercises really helped in the improved control of the jaw. So at this point, that's where we are. You have to realize that if you want the higher quality of movement, you have this additional, potentially there are additional challenges that come from the stimulation. So it's a good process. So, but for you now, you have to manage it. You have to understand how to work with it. So that means that yes, she's going to experience some discomforts, with the drool. Yes, there's going to be, probably you have to take into account the idea that she has to get more liquids per day, right? So you see, because it's a hydration loss. So these are the important things. But you shouldn't look at those things just as, the functional. Well, because what happens to people that this is exactly the difference of ABR from the medical approach, right? Medical approach is, oh, okay, you've got salivation, let's make Botox, so that let's kind of turn them off as if they are not necessary. But they are essential, the activity of salivary glands, because you see what happens is another important thing. When the salivary glands are working, they are bringing the saliva into the mouth, and that means that when the saliva is being brought into the mouth, this is the stimulation for all this, like micro swallowing, micro activation of the mouth. This is the activity which is absolutely essential and critical.